So colleagues, we have a final presentation, and this is going to be a team presentation. And the presentation is going to be done by a team of 3, Dr. Nkem Osuigwe, Mr. Stanley Boakye-Achampong, and Ms. Doreen Appiah, who will together explore key perspectives on open access in Africa and the evolving dynamics of content ownership in a digital environment.
And we are grateful to Mustafa, who has done almost all the job for us, because in fact, we should have just followed his presentation, presented after him, because it's like a follow-up of what he spoke about. So what this is all about is when you make knowledge easily discoverable and accessible, then that's another means of establishing rights, attribution, and ownership. All the sessions in the morning that talked about, all the presentations in the first session that spoke about AI, it kept on re-echoing. Who has the data set? Who has the knowledge that is being used to train AIs? So much so that my colleague Sylvester said that it shouldn't be artificial intelligence, it should be African intelligence, because so you find out that it is really all about Africa somehow. But when that ownership is not established, when it is not visible, when it is not ensured, then it can be anybody's knowledge. And all through the years, what we've been used to in the print era in our libraries, ISBNs, ISSN, and so on, all the things they do, I don't want to go into them. They are in the slides there, and we'll share the DOI. We'll upload to Zenodo and also share to all participants. So this is already known to us. But what we are seeing is that in the digital era, that there are some gaps, some challenges of identification, of ownership that ISBN and ISSN cannot solve. And we say that, because of the great number of resources in online spaces, biases that we see online, and then expansion of the semantic web, that the issue of visibility, discoverability, accessibility, interoperability, that they have all come to play in how people access information, knowledge, and that ISBN, ISSN, they cannot cope with that anymore. So what do we need? How can we go about it? As stewards, as knowledge stewards, librarians in the 21st century, what do we do? And we say that for digital resources, that it is important that there is infrastructure, an underlying standardized, note that word, standardized support system that, according to Mustafa, it should be open, it should be linked, collaborative, and sustainable enough to provide persistent, permanent, and unique identifiers, so that even if your data set is going to be used by AI, there will still be a link that says, oh, this information was gotten from here. And then these identifiers should also have the right attributions to establish ownership, robust metadata beyond our cataloging details. And why we put it this way is that something like that data site schema, we'll still get to that. When when it helps you to write metadata, you find out that you have the opportunities to say, oh, this resource is in English, but it has been translated to Kwi, it's been translated to Yoruba on so date by so time, bringing all the information about knowledge resources together. So that is what we feel, or that is what we understand that we need in Africa for us to ensure that our knowledge is attributed to us. The thing that we say that we do, they will know that it is us that is doing it. And then we also say that, like I said before, that for ISBN and ISSN, it is not assured that you can get these things, happening. They are not linked. They can't be linked to databases. They are not interoperable, and they are good identifiers, and we must still continue to use them. But what we are saying is that in the digital era, African librarians, we need to step up our game. And we said, okay, GOIs. And I went into the history, and I found out that it started in 1997. And 3 organizations came together to say, let's do this. And when they came together to do it, it was at Frankfurt Book Fair. And again, it set me thinking as I was listening to the presentations today. Collaboration is important. No one can go this journey alone. That's number one. Number two is that, like Sylvester said, even the server for Zoom may be somewhere in Germany. Yes, that's the reality. And again, you find out that Africa, we are still, tagging along, so to say. So these 3 associations, the IPA, International Publishers Association, very strong association, International Association of Scientific, Technical and Medical Publishers, then Association of American Publishers, they came together and started this DOI. And the way they did it, they provided a flexible framework that enabled it to continue to grow even up to this moment. Initially, it was meant just for published text, but they also understood that along the way, there's going to be this convergence of formats, of knowledge resources. So they made way for that to happen. They made way for such things to still be included in the GOIs. And now this system is managed and sustained by GOI Foundation, which was also founded in 1997. Organizations like, okay, let me not jump, but just know this GOI Foundation. So Mustafa spoke about all this and more. He spoke about this. So let's not repeat what he has said, but just to let us know that GOIs are really critical now for libraries, for every type of knowledge resource, whether it's a sample, a data set, an image, your survey tool, instrument. It can all have GOIs. All of them can have GOIs, and that will enable tracking. That will enable visibility. That will enable discoverability. That will enable reuse, so that Africans can always be now known to, hey, this thing came from Africa. Because sometimes, like Mustafa also said, there are beautiful theses, dissertations, and along the way, they just sit down there in some repositories or even in some libraries. And we've seen pictures of projects being burnt because there was no space for them in the library again. And we say that DOIs can become a rallying point for not just the visibility of academic work and research outputs of the academia, but it can also increase the volume of research from Africa and the rankings of our tertiary institutions, because they can help in the evaluation of the IR usage and other benchmarking activities. We can also use them to create standards and awareness about mandatory submission details for our IRs. And then they can also importantly boost the continued relevance of libraries in present times. Now, why it matters for Africa? This infographic is from Al Jazeera. It was originally brought to my attention by a consultant that works with Hewlett Foundation. And I asked her, can we use it? She said, sure. So that's why I put it here. Now, this infographic, it talks about the Nobel Prize. It was just, October is normally the time that they award them. And now this one, if you look at it well, it mentions only top countries by continents that have won the prize. But look at the last, and it covers only from 1901 to 2020. Now, look at what I wrote under there. Potential Nobel Prize winners are considered for the quality, depth, and breadth of their research or their work or the impact of their activities. And you ask yourself, why should Africa have just 3%? When you now look at it, you see Africa has only 3%. Africa, that's the whole of Africa. South Africa has been the highest, has gotten the highest number of Nobel Prizes, followed by Egypt. Then Liberia, Nigeria should be somewhere down, but it's not amongst the topmost. Is it that we don't have enough researchers, or that what they are doing is not visible enough, or that the world cannot totally see what they are up to? And that is why we are saying that with PIDs, that's the persistent identifiers, everybody can now see that this is what you have done. This will be attributed to you, whether as a translator or an editor or a creator or an author or something like that. But the important thing is that it will boost the visibility of African research. Next slide. So how can African libraries get GOI? This is also supported by the UNESCO recommendation on open science. Mustafa also spoke about this. But you know why I put this image there? Can you see that image of a book? You know, that's within the picture there. Everything streams from the book. All those opens, they stream from the book. Whether it's the infrastructure, whether it's access, everything. The book, it all comes from that book that is open. And anytime I see this image, I tell myself, librarians are inside here. Librarians are a part of this. And that kind of gives me that assurance that we are really on the right track with what we are doing in AfLIA. That libraries should be a part of this, and that we cannot allow, I always say this, we cannot allow ourselves to be boxed into a corner, you know, or just to be only about, okay, let's help these people do this one, that we have definite rules as libraries and librarians to play. And we said, how can African librarians get GOIs? And we said Crossref and DataCite, they are considered to be among the top tier registration agencies under the International GOI Foundation, because not any to them, you must register with the GOI Foundation. And I can tell you, I don't know how many African organizations that can register with the GOI Foundation, because it's not just talking about funds. We are talking about infrastructure, underlying infrastructure that will enable you to serve as a registration agency that can now give the others to GOIs to now share. So, but we did a comparison of the major features of DataCite and Crossref. The primary audience, the content types, you know, mission, and so on. And you find out that from this slide now that honestly, DataCite is most suited for libraries, repositories, archives, universities, you know, museums, and so on, research institutions, like Mustafa had pointed out. Crossref is wonderful for publishers, journals, scholarly societies. And if you take it down, you see what the two organizations offer. And then I also wrote about this one that he mentioned, Zenodo. In fact, I'll still I will upload this presentation there once I'm done, because I also use them. But what I've noticed is that their link resolves to their website. It doesn't resolve to the website of AfLIA. If I use AfLIA will crawl the net and go and take it from there. So it's like posting a letter, to somebody. I remember then you now write care of, that's then a slash, then not zero, because you are posting it in through the care of somebody. You want to give somebody an address of where you live, but because that place, it doesn't have a proper address, so you tell the person, oh, stop by the road. You stop at the road by that red house, then you keep on walking. After some time, you see me there. Is how it really is. But it's good, it's open, and again, I like the history behind it, where the name is derived from the first librarian of the ancient library of Alexandria. His name inspired this. So you can really see that libraries should be a part of this. So what's cooking? What are they doing about this? So what's cooking? First of all, we have developed a course on advancing open knowledge in Africa through persistent identifiers and open research infrastructure. It's done, is ready, and before the end of next week, we will write to library associations, please. We'll write to library associations to give us, let's say, three people from each country in Africa. Why we are doing it is that it is better, it will be cheaper for us in the long run if we go through library associations. First of all, to get this course, then to get this course, to get this slide, to get this course, and then to form the consortium that Mustafa and his people, they have advised AfLIA to do. What do we intend to do? AfLIA intends to form a consortium, being paid, then work with national library associations who will now work with libraries in their different countries. How do I mean? Let me tell you, the fee for being a consortium lead is the same as the fee for being a direct member. If you want to be a direct member of DataSite to get all the things that Mustafa spoke about, or if you want to be a consortium lead, the cost is 2,000 euros. But they advised us that for Africa, if AfLIA can be bold and strong enough to do it, pay the price, then library associations, national library associations will now pay. That's AfLIA will now say, oh, these library associations, they are all a part of AfLIA, okay? Then AfLIA, those associations will now pay only 500 euros, from 2,000 to 500. They'll pay 500 to DataSite to make sure that they are members of the consortium by AfLIA. And they also say that now it depends on negotiations and how many associations that AfLIA can get to join, because the more we can get more people, the more associations we get, the cheaper for everybody. Then that AfLIA can say, oh, okay, for being a member here, you're going to pay AfLIA 150 euros only. And that makes it like 650 for all the national library associations. You just pay that 650 euros. Then what will the libraries now pay? I know that for each GOI, because the libraries will now pay to access the GOIs. That's again the point. That's why libraries are down the ladder. They'll now pay, and I think it's around 80 euros or something like that. It is fairly cheap. But because it's a consortium, AfLIA will take the hit, the financial hit, so to speak. National library associations will absorb some of the shock, and then libraries in the countries, that's, let's say in Nigeria Library Association, then libraries in Nigeria will now be paying only a minimal amount to be sure that they're part of what NLA will do through that, and then also to get GOIs. And it doesn't stop there. The consortium thing will also go with trainings, and then, like you spoke about the gas grant, it will also give libraries under the consortium the opportunities to have access to grants that they can use to maintain their IRs, to build capacity. Because I remember that Dr. Kobler had mentioned something about building that we don't have the skills and capacity enough for the digital infrastructure that we need. So that is what AfLIA is planning. That is what we are cooking, and we believe that with more communication, with more interactions, that everybody will understand that why we have to come together as a group. Remember, somebody has spoken about collaborations. This is not a journey we can go alone, because we know how financially buoyant many libraries are, many institutions are. That is why we are saying that if we can all pull together as one through AfLIA, then we are going to gain. The cost will be reduced, and then everybody will have access to this critical infrastructure that we need for open science. I think I'm really done. Thank you. Thank you
very much, Dr. Nkem, and your team, for such a wonderful presentation, for drawing our attention to a collaborative, if I should say, and inclusive approaches to knowledge management, and reiterating how we can make ourselves visible and own our scholarship as Africans and make our voices heard as Africans.